Folks, I'm so excited about this next guest. Why? We are in Las Vegas. What is the home of Las Vegas? Not only entertainment, but boxing. And we have one of the best here. We got Jacob Stitch Duran. Thank you so much for jumping on with us.
Man, I'm impressed with your voice, bro. I said, man, where'd this guy come in? He just kind of turned it on like night and day. Thanks for having me on, man.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You got a great future, man.
Well,
Stitch, that's why I teamed up with Fernando. He is the host, and I'm just the guy who asks questions every now and then. He has the better voice. But you called
man.
it.
What a voice, huh?
An eye for talent.
Yeah, of course.
I appreciate it.
Well, Stitch, I'm guessing you live in Las Vegas? Or
Yeah, I live like 20 minutes from here.
20 minutes.
Yeah.
How many years?
29 years, bro.
20.
I came over here to follow my dreams. Just packed up my family. It was from the Bay Area. I had to school kickboxing in Fairfield.
Wow.
Got a job transfer with R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company. They gave me 2 weeks, and I sold my house, transferred my school to a student, put my family in a U-Haul, drove 9 hours. And here I am. Follow your dreams, bro.
Hey, the grind don't stop.
They do come true.
That's amazing. Stitch, you've worked with some of the greats. You've done a lot of work, but how did you get started in this industry?
Well, growing up as a farm worker in the San Joaquin Valley of California, I was born and raised in a migrant camp. My address, CPC number 12, bro. So I don't get no lower than that. California Packing Company number 12. But I always wanted to play baseball. Every year, of course, Latinos, we all play baseball. Walked down to Merced College and didn't have a car, and friends would go after school, and I'd have to hitchhike home. But I joined the Air Force in 1972, and I always said if I went to the Orient, I'd study the martial arts. That was during the Bruce Lee era. So in 1974, they stationed me in a place called Thailand. I didn't know what Thailand was, man. I saw my first Muay Thai fight, and that whole year I devoted myself to that and got crew certified, opened up a school of kickboxing, and so I learned to be a cutman. I was a trainer first. I did promotions, and I moved to Vegas to be with the big boys. Que loco, ¿verdad? Si se puede, bro.
Que vida.
Yeah.
Que vida.
I made it. Yeah, I made it. I made this vida, and that's why I tell people, sure you guys, that line we're all scared to cross, right? If we don't cross it, man, we'll never get there.
So
Stitch, I'm guessing you've been a cutman for so many great Mexican American boxers or Mexican fighters. Obviously boxing is all about the Mexican fighters and the Mexican Americans. I guess for you, how's that been to work with so many generations of great fighters?
It's been a blessing. Every day I thank God that I'm doing what I do. It's just why me, right? And but I was telling somebody the first world title fight I worked in boxing was Tony the Tiger Lopez from Sacramento. He fought Julio Cesar Chavez in Monterrey, Mexico. That was my first world title fight, bro. I've had so many now, I don't even count them, hundreds. But that was my first world title fight. And about 6 months ago, I saw Chavez. He's doing commentating in one of the fights, and I brought that story up. Man, he gave me a big hug, So that was my first world title fight, and still got plenty more.
How is El Gran Campeón, during a fight, and then you're trying to set him up? Is he giving you a couple curse words in Spanish, or like, hey, take it easy?
No, I worked with Tony the Tiger Lopez. I worked with the opponent.
Oh, okay,
right,
sorry.
Yeah. No, so.
But he remembers you from that fight.
Yeah, exactly. Well, not so much that he remembers me from that fight, but now that he sees me in fights all the time.
And movies too?
And movies también.
Can you talk about that? I mean,
sure.
You got to join the Creed and all that stuff. Just what was that like for you? I mean, again, Cutman, you've done all this stuff, Air Force, you've lived in Thailand, you've done all this, and then now you're in the movies. Just what was that experience like? Can you talk about when you were approached for that?
Yeah, fate just has seemed to be the chosen one. So the day I'm leaving R.J. Reynolds, because R.J. Reynolds, I moved to Vegas to do this. R.J. Reynolds offered us a year package where they would pay us for a year, insurance and everything, to leave early out. I took it. And in that 1 year, I focused on this career. But the day I was leaving R.J. Reynolds, I get a call to do an audition for Play It to the Bone with Woody Harrelson and Antonio Banderas. And this is like 8 o'clock in the morning, and my boss is with me, and I'm nervous, and it's about 10 o'clock. I said, Augie, I got an offer to do this movie. I'm nervous. I was disciplined. I was a worker. He said, hey, man, I'm just here to sign you out. Boom. I went and did the audition, and that was my first movie. And then I did Ocean's 11 when Klitschko fought.
Wow.
Lennox Lewis. I ended up with Klitschko for 8 years after that. I did Here Comes the Boom with Kevin James, Salma Hayek.
Yeah.
The MMA movie, and Creed 1, Creed 2, Creed 3. Local, huh?
What was it like with Michael B. Jordan and Sylvester Stallone?
Yeah, well, in Sylvester Stallone, in the script for Creed, my name was Marcel. I said, man, I don't know anybody named Marcel. Do you? You know, but when it was time for Rocky to introduce us to Adonis, he says, oh, there's Stitch. He's the best cut man in Philadelphia. Bro, I went like this, yes. The next day, I say, hey, man, I want to thank you. He goes, no. He goes, puts his hand on my, says, you know, you earned it. You know, it has to be authentic. And from there it stayed. And well, Michael B. Jordan, I mean, every day I spend wrapping his hands, just him and I. And I talk to him as a fighter, as I would a fighter. So I directed him mentally into that stage. And they would always come to me for advice. But in the second Creed movie, I'm wrapping his hands and I'm telling him how proud I am of him and Ryan Coogler that wrote, directed Creed, and Tessa Thompson. And at that time, Steve Caple was the director for Creed 2. He looks at me like I'm looking at you, and it says, Stitch, we went from being actors to writers, producers, and directors. He says, I'm directing Creed 3, and you're with me as long as you want. So
Creed 4?
Creed 4, I saw Michael about when Shakir Stevenson fought here. And I talked to him and said, okay, Michael, how much? So they're working on it now. So in a couple of years, they'll start doing the actual probably filming.
Stitch,
So,
when you mentioned Klitschko and doing Ocean's 11, so you met him there, and then he said, you know what, I want to sign you up to be in my corner.
no, it's a long story. Good question. Nobody's ever asked that. December the 12th, I say 1991. Vitaly says 1992. When the Soviet Union first broke, we took a team of professional boxers and kickboxers to Kiev to fight them, right? And at that time, I had a kickboxer, Mark Longo from Denver. So we went there. And the Klitschkos were young kids, but they were already stars. They had big banners like this on them and all that. So I saw them there. And when they trained in Vegas, I brought that story up. Plus, I brought the poster. And that was our first contact. And when we did Ocean's 11, I was the extra. But he told Emmanuel Stewart, he says, I want the guy that was my cut man in the movie to be my cut man. So Emmanuel Stewart, he's doing commentating for HBO. He says, Stitch, I need to talk to you about Vladimir. He goes like this. And I talked to my partner. Did you see what I saw? Well, the next day he says, yeah, Vladimir wants you to be his cut man. So,
Wow.
yeah.
And isn't it wild how many Ukrainian fighters are coming out now after the Klitschko brothers?
You know, and I always told people when the Russians started coming over, Eastern Bloc fighters, it was going to change the game for not only boxing, for MMA. But yeah, you know, but I guess in the Olympics, the Ukrainians were the ones, the Kazakhstanis and the Ukrainians were the boxers that were in the Olympics. In wrestling, it's the Daghestanis and all that. So yeah, hey man, it's a trip. When I go over there, they know me. You know, it blows my mind, bro. I'm that little Chicano that grew up as a farm worker, right? And here I am traveling the world, and people throughout the world recognize me.
Do you have any Emmanuel Stewart stories?
Yeah, I worked with 8 years with Emmanuel, right? And actually, the last time I saw him was his birthday, July 7th. That was the same day as my wife's birthday, Charlotte. But we were in Switzerland. Vladimir was fighting there, and we had lunch and dinner. But the best work, I tell people, best work I ever saw a corner do was when Vladimir fought Samuel Peter. He got dropped like 3 times. You get dropped 3 times in any kind of fight, you're going to lose a fight. Emmanuel kept Vladimir in the game so well, he ended up winning the decision. Best corner work I ever saw in my life. And till this day, has been the best trainer I've ever seen. And I used to co-host a radio show, the 13th Round in Vegas. Every time I called Emmanuel, he always took my call.
Wow.
That kind of super, super good guy.
Isn't it wild how these little things really matter? Your corner, your cut man, your hand wraps, and all that.
Everything.
I guess for you, how did you get the reputation of being the best cut man in the sport?
Just lucky. No, I earned my stripes, and that was the thing with Stallone. As a man, it just blows my mind. I'm here with you and Michael B. Jordan and Tessa, and we had that relationship. He says, hey man, you earned it, and I thought, yeah, I put my time in. But, I try to do things the right way and teach. And, I just did an interview earlier, and you guys probably aren't aware of it, but I always try to teach these young guys, the importance of a good corner. I said, if you're looking for a good cut man, and he puts a swab in his mouth or he puts it in his ear, get another cut man. That's old, right? If you ask a cut man, the adrenaline chloride, the medication we use for the swabs, ask him, what does the medication do? Oh, it stops the bleeding. Yeah, but why? Well, it coagulates it. Well, if he says it coagulates it, get another cut man because it's a vasoconstrictor. But my point to that is that combat sports, none of us have to be certified to be called professionals. Every other major sport you do. So my job at worst case scenario is to teach. And that's what I've been doing.
Fernando, we've seen some like big gashes in the sport of boxing.
Yeah.
I want to ask Stitch, like, was there one that you had to really work hard to make sure it's, close up a little bit?
Yeah, Vladimir Klitschko, Jay Haran, this big vein we have right here, when you pop that vein, you're not going to stop it because it's just too big to stop. But I've worked on those cuts before in the UFC. So when Vladimir fought his first fight, when he had lost his world title to Lehman Brewster. And that's when Emmanuel Stewart says, I want, Vladimir says, I want Stitch in my corner. He fought DeVarrell Williamson here at Caesars outdoors. And the first 3 rounds, he won. The 4th round, he got dropped. Okay, so he's still ahead. Didn't look all that good. In the 5th round, he gets an unintentional headbutt, and it pops that vein. And I've worked on those cuts before, but I knew percentage-wise, at that point, I knew he was winning the fight. And when he sat down, I told him and Vitaly, you got a bad cut. You're winning on the scorecards. I'm going to have the doctor stop the fight. So when the doctor came, she says, she's worked with me many times. What do you think, Stitch? I go like this. I opened up the cut. I said, that's pretty bad. She stopped the fight, went to the scorecards, and he won the fight and became world champion for 8 years.
Wow.
So,
Well, last one for us. When you watch boxing movies, I mean, I know when you ask NFL players or other athletes, when they're watching a movie that is a sports movie, they're like, no, that's not the way you're doing it. Or they're very critical of like the football players in the movie or stuff like that. Do you do that sometimes in those boxing movies with the cutmans?
all the time. And as a matter of fact, I just did an interview, and you guys can post this, with GQ Video 2 weeks ago. And it's out now, but they brought up all these Hollywood movies, and I critiqued them. Like Southpaw, right? As I said, Forrest Whitaker's the cut man. He's where the cut was here, but he's putting the swab up there. Little things like that. The end swab, and I think Raging Bull, the guy's doing this, and that's what you don't do. You don't want to move something in tissue that's not damaged. It comes back, and now it gets bigger. So check it out. It's on GQ Video. Just came out.
We will. Jacob Stitch Duran, thank you so much for jumping on with the Compas. We truly appreciate it. And to see one of our own out there doing it, we truly appreciate it.
La Compas with a golden voice, huh?
Yeah,
Ole Fernando, we just changed your name, bro.
That's a new
Call
name
him,
right
okay,
there.
could call him Moro.
Thank you so much.
All right, guys. God bless, guys.